Good evening, and welcome again to the 2012fad.com. It's nice you can spend some time with us again. I'll be your host for the evening. My name is Charlie Bluehawk. Last night we talked about fantasy versus reality, and why our masters almost always seem to win. Tonight, I thought we would change gears, and I would read to you a letter that I wrote to one of our listeners in response to a letter she sent to us. A young mother with children looking for answers. I will not recap her letter, but you can find it on our website. I don't feel it's appropriate to speak other people's words without their permission. But she did send us a letter, and I do believe it's still on our website. It was a chance for me to get a letter from a parent who actually cared about her children surviving the event. Now, that should be commonplace, you would think. But frankly, I have found it shocking the number of parents who I personally know, who have children, little children, teenagers, who know about the event, who are not preparing for it, and who do not care about their children surviving it. I've actually had parents say to me, well, it'll be quick, won't it? Okay, yeah, sure. It'll be quick. It depends on where you are. I actually had several different groups of families ask me, well, Charlie, we know it's happening. That's why we came to New Zealand. Will it be quick? The 5,000-foot tall wall of water moving at the speed of sound. Watch a movie like Armageddon, and you can see stuff like that. And you know what? I lied to them. I said, sure. The truth of the matter is, most of us will be able to see the water coming. We'll be able to walk away from the water. But we'll discover very quickly we have no place to go. This gets back to my advice across the board. Bottles of sleeping pills and a couple of bottles of hard liquor for you, your family, your pets. Keep a couple of tins of tuna handy to feed the pets, the sleeping pills, of course. Or if you're lucky enough to have a doctor in the family, make sure she has enough drugs on hand to make sure her loved ones don't suffer. But after a while, I have to admit, I stopped being stunned by the number of parents who had no interest in their children surviving the event. None. I don't have children, but I would think that for your children you would do anything, but apparently not. So I guess, again, it gets back down to math. As we begin to add up the numbers, it's not really surprising that out of the 7 billion of us on the surface of this planet today, that the 7 billion of us are the descendants of only 25 people. Because the rest of us were too stupid, I guess. Certainly no one cared. Those who truly cared, they moved into the Earth's crust. And I suspect that most of them survived and thrived and saw no good reason to return to the surface to deal with the savages. That would be you and me. Again, simple math. 98% of the human race are cattle. 2% are the thinkers, theoretically you and me. But the truth of the matter is even we don't listen to each other. We don't listen to each other. We don't listen to our bodies. We don't listen to our planet. Now, you add the cowards in, which we will talk about tomorrow. And again, not surprising that only 25 people survived the last event. And the sad, the truly ugly truth of the matter is that survival at this point in time comes down to cash money, to people you can trust. Let's be honest, there aren't that many. A safe place to hide, and guns to defend yourself until the unprepared, the cattle, finally do die off, either from starvation or fighting and murdering each other, or from disease. The masters are prepared. They've even built fortresses on the surface of the earth, actually several across the world, publicized it, and filled them with seeds. They're seed banks inside of fortresses. Now, these fortresses, sealed up tight with seeds, are built below the coming water level. When the South Pole melts or explodes, depending on your point of view, and even without the wave that is going to be 5,000 feet tall and moving at the speed of sound, these fortress-like seed banks will be buried both by water and by mud. And I thought to myself, how stupid can they be? Until you start to think about it. I thought it was funny originally, but now I understand why our masters did this. They're planning for their own cattle, their livestock that they have up in the mountains to repopulate the earth while they're safe in their underground cities. But of course, their humans are specially raised human beings. They plan on doing it right this time. They've pre-selected, genetically controlled, and modified their own human beings to be bred as the perfect soldiers, the perfect servants, as perfect sex slaves, perfect servants. That makes sense. While the mutts, which would again be you and me, are culled by the event, wiped out. And just in case any of us mutts think about surviving, well, you come up with some really nasty diseases and spread those around, especially the pig virus, which targeted specifically Asians. People who were genetically Asian were targeted by this virus. And then, of course, you spray it around the world out of the engines of international jetliners because you've added this poison mixture to the jet fuel. It also makes really bizarre contrails over cities. You add some barium particles into that, and one of their super weapons, the HARP gizmo. Oh boy, it just it gets so many layers. You get sort of overwhelmed sometimes. Anyway, the sad truth is, not much can be done now, unless you got the cash, and it comes down to cash. Isn't that sad? So here, I'm going to read you my response to this very brave and very decent and very genuine lady in California. And I'm sorry to have written it, and I'm sorry it was true. I am so sorry. Being afraid is perfectly normal and very intelligent, but please do not let your fear control or rule you. That said, there are lots of things that you can do. Sadly, most cost money. Get to higher ground. Above the 5,000-foot level should keep you above the water line level. Find a cave or a sheltered valley. There's going to be very high winds. Get seeds, heirloom seeds, non-genetically modified seeds. I always recommend the arkinstitute.com. Ark is A-R-K, Institute, I-N-S-T-I-T-U-T-E.com. The arkinstitute.com. Very good prices the last time I checked. Get some basic supplies in. Tools, cookware, knitting, sewing, spinning. A hand crank grinder is critical. And you'll again discover why you should have a hand crank grinder, both wet and dry. Get in basic sundries until your crops come in. Flour, rice, rope, sheets, blankets, clothes. And again, I cannot stress the importance of the large, heavy-duty black plastic bag. A fellow wrote in and asked me, why do I need a plastic bag? I said, it's really simple. The black plastic bag is going to be your best friend because when it rains, it's a poncho. When it gets cold, you can actually fill them with leaves and straw, tie them together. You've got a makeshift shelter. They're good for keeping water out of your supplies. They're good for keeping waste materials in case you're trapped somewhere in a bunker and there's no toilet. A black plastic bag at that point is a really good ally. For carrying fresh water, black plastic bags. For heating water in the sunlight, black plastic bags. You'll find endless uses for them, believe me. Now, you're going to need friends, or at least like-minded allies, if you can find any. And finally, of course, you're going to need a gun, more guns, and lots of ammo. Again, I'm sorry. It's true. Buy some land, start planting. Stock the local area with turkeys, pigs, chickens, rabbits, or any other wild game you like or you think is indigenous. Check out another website, another favorite of mine. I get no money from these folks, by the way. It's called Polyface Farms, POLYFACEFARMS.com. Polyface Farms. This guy is a genius. I've got a couple of his books. Again, I've never talked to him, never spoken to him. I get no money for referring him. I just think he's somebody that you really need to get information from. He's written a lot of books about how to turn wasteland into growing, luxurious, profitable, organic farming. He teaches you how to slaughter pigs and chickens humanely. Multiple reasons for that. You need books. For the love of God, take some books, some games, some musical instruments with you. Don't go up there, with one copy of Playboy. Sorry, I'm improvising for the script here. Now, if you have cash, try overseas. I have lately found that the Czech Republic in Prague, well, I'm in Prague, is ideally situated for surviving the event. And you should be, at that point, surrounded by fairly civilized people and still have something of an infrastructure still in place. You might have heard me mention the village we are building, again, cash permitting. And we were heading for South America, but now the small mountains in the Czech Republic and even the city of Prague look like they will survive and mostly intact. But again, there's always Santiago, Chile, and there are the Andes. But bear in mind that the wave will come from the South Pole, so you should be at least 10,000 feet above or more in elevation, at that point. There are some small groups in Ecuador. Look up a gentleman by the name of George Green. He's a wealthy fellow who's been trying to get the word out for years and years and years. Very smart man. And you might try and join their group. Other than that, you are unlikely to find anyone who will believe you. And those who you do find are most likely resigned to dying. As I talked about earlier, I know many families, and all of them with small children, who have no interest in surviving or even trying. You might have 18 months to get settled in. Watch for any reports of a red star in the southern hemisphere. That is a dead dwarf star, and its 3 planets and orbiting chunks of rock. That is getting closer. When the rocks start falling to Earth, just pack the children and then just run. I am so very sorry, but it does come down to cash. Time we have run out of. Good luck to you all, Charlie. Just as a side note, I came across an article that you can now see the red dwarf star very, very clearly in the northern hemisphere from the area of California, which means it's close, and it's getting closer all the time. So our time, pretty much packed in, I'm afraid. So if anybody's got cash, give me a call. Other than that, I really do hope you have a plan. As you know, we have one, and we will survive no matter what happens. From all of us here at the 2012 FAD, this is Charlie Bluehawk wishing you a good day. And please, please, keep that good thought.